Hello from Becky and me, and welcome to the programme.
First tonight, a fortnight on from that historic green surge in the local elections, progress on some of the key environmental issues causing concern in our communities.
Anglian Water has apologised and pledged £1 billion to tackle the sewage spills blighting our waterways. We'll hear from them in a moment about how that'll be done and how ultimately we will pay for it.
But first to the crunch talks over what price the East Anglian countryside should pay for our future energy security. Campaigners want to halt plans for a corridor of pylons through Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex to connect new wind farms to the grid. This morning they met ministers, as Rob Setchell reports.
In sunny Suffolk, arrivals for what could have been a stormy summit. Energy Minister Andrew Bowie meeting campaigners horrified by projects they say would carve up the countryside. The outlook afterwards, positive.
He was definitely listening. He was really keen to understand what the issues are. And we think he heard the message loud and clear. There's no need for pylons that cut across Norfolk, Suffolk and Essex.
He was a breath of fresh air. This is the first minister who has come to see us and listen to us in the 4 years that we've been promoting an offshore grid.
Campaigners are desperate for that offshore connection, hooking up the huge wind farms being built off East Anglia's coast without the need for the 112-mile corridor of pylons the National Grid is currently planning to build. The local election results suggest environmental issues are having a big impact here. The Greens claiming their first ever council majority in mid-Suffolk and making big gains elsewhere.
I completely understand the concerns of local people, and you know, we look at last week's local elections and have to take lessons from them. But the work that government was doing, the work that the developers were doing to look at the other options available for this part of the world, were ongoing before the local elections, will be ongoing afterwards, and we'll be able to say something more publicly on that in the next few months.
Terribly sorry, I do need to go.
Not everyone was delighted by today's progress. Some still want answers over Sizewell C, the new nuclear power station which has the go-ahead but not yet the funding.
Boris Johnson was clearly living in cloud cuckoo land when he came up and was talking about Sizewell C. This project may only get over the line if the government is prepared to put billions and billions more taxpayers' money into it. And the big question mark in this pre-election period is, are they going to be willing to do that when they just had such a drubbing in the East Suffolk Council elections?
The opportunity for us all is incredible, so let's go and seize it together. Arigato.
In Tokyo today, the Prime Minister welcomed a huge investment from Japanese businesses in the UK, including £4 billion for wind projects off Norfolk and Suffolk. Back on East Anglian soil, the mood is less triumphant. Those who live here say if our coast is to become the country's power pack, they must get a proper say in how it's done. Rob Setchell, ITV News.
Next tonight, campaigners have poured cold water on the idea that £10 billion is enough to solve the issue of sewage spilling into our rivers.
Suppliers, including Anglian Water today, announced they aim to use the money to cut the number of times effluent is released into our waterways by almost half by 2030.
The government has given the announcement a cautious welcome, but it will put up water bills and many aren't impressed. Matthew Hudson reports.
It's 13